Ah, Spain. Sun, sand, and sangrias. It's what comes to mind when thinking of vacationing or possibly even moving to this southern European hotspot. But outside of the sun-soaked summer months, what is Spain's weather really like? Let me show you the truth about the weather in Spain. Listos? Vamonos!
Now, of course, Spain has different climate zones depending on the region of the country you find yourself in. In the north of Spain, or more appropriately known as Green Spain, there's typically cooler weather with more rainfall. Average rainfall in Galicia is about 150 days out of the year. Then there's the Central Plateau, or what they call La Meseta, which typically has very hot, dry summers and cold and dry winters. Now, that being said, Madrid, which is part of that Central Plateau, just saw itself brought to a standstill by a snowstorm just a couple of weeks ago. And then there's the Mediterranean climate, which includes southern Spain and the eastern coastline, which is where we find ourselves right now, here in Gandia. Now, the Mediterranean climate is, of course, very hot during the summers, hot and humid, for sure. Come October time, there is typically a lot of rain. There is this weather event known as the Gota Fria, and that is when hot Mediterranean air swoops in and then meets cold air at higher altitudes, causing a lot of rainfall. And that's typically when you will get most of the rainfall here in the Valencian community, during the October time frame. Now, this October was very, very rainy. We saw above average rainfall. There was flooding all up and down the eastern coastline, from as far north as Barcelona, Castellón, Valencia, Gandia, Alicante. That whole eastern coastline saw a lot of rain this year, and very heavy amounts of rain. Above average rain for those months, for October, November, December, definitely above average rainfall. And then here in January, there's been 10 named storms thus far. We were having some lunch with some of our local friends here, and they were even joking that there's been so many named storms already that the meteorological agency is going to have to start using last names. That's how many named storms we've had so far. And so Spain is also seeing itself a victim of climate change. More extreme weather events throughout the country. Just a couple of weeks ago, down in Andalusia, Cadiz, the rain was cascading down the walkways of the cities. It's just been so heavy. And then this last summer, 2025, saw record-breaking heat. I think it was the hottest summer on record for Spain, which I can attest to. We spent 2 weeks in an unair-conditioned apartment in Valencia while we were moving between Valencia and Gandia. And the summers here can be brutal, very intense. And then one thing that I don't see mentioned enough, or if at all really, is the wind. When we were doing our research to move to Spain, we definitely looked up the weather, especially on the Mediterranean coast where we wanted to move to Valencia. And it said moderate climate, warm summers, mild winters, or hot summers, mild winters. But it never mentioned the wind. The wind here is intense. Now, even our neighbors do tell us that, yeah, during the winter it tends to be windy here along the eastern coastline. But this year was intense. I mean, wind to the point where you don't want to go outside. The type of weather that'll keep me indoors is a lot of rain or extreme cold. Wind, I've never really had to deal with. Not until we moved here. The wind here these past 4 weeks has been so intense. We've had daily meteorological warnings that say coastal events. And coastal event, they just use as a broad term because it just means it's going to be very windy. And we've had wind gusts up to 45, 50, 55 miles per hour. Now in kilometers, what is that? 70, 80 kilometer per hour wind gusts. And it has just been so strong to the point where we haven't been out on our terraza for about 4 weeks because our chairs were just getting blown all across the terraza. The table was being moved. And we have a big, nice patio outside where we have a view of the mountains, we have a view of the beach. And it really put a hinder on everything to not be able to use this nice big patio that we have. But I'm enjoying today. We enjoyed yesterday. We've been out and taking in this nice weather. But the wind has been so strong. I mean, it blew over trash cans all over the town. There's trash all over the place because of the wind. There's snapped branches in Valencia, trees have snapped, injured people. So the wind this year has been particularly strong and particularly long lasting. One thing to take into account if you're thinking about coming to Spain. A lot of strong weather here recently due to climate change. I'm sure climate change is playing a strong factor in what's happening to Spain. And it makes me wonder if this summer is going to be stronger as well, because we've had a stronger October rain season. We've had a pretty good winter, pretty strong winter as well. I'm curious to see what this summer is going to be like. I'm almost scared because the summers here are already hot. And so the truth is, Spain is not always warm and sunny. Although some weather patterns do hold true, like the hot and humid summers, the wet Octobers, wet to the point where there might be some extreme rain and flooding, the cool winters, not very cold but cool, but also expect a very windy winter, windy to the point that it might keep you indoors as well. And spring is really nice. There's very nice spring, although spring doesn't last very long. It seems like winter just blends right into summer. There is a very small window of perfect weather where you're not sweating as much. But to be quite honest, I don't mind sweating out here. Especially if you're living along the beach, you'll always find ways to cool yourself off, whether by jumping in the water or by having yourself a nice sangria, an Aperol Spritz, una cerveza, something delicious to keep you nice and cool. But I'd love to hear some of your guys' wildest weather stories while being here in Spain. Please feel free to let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Hasta luego.